So to all the Patreon members, I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. I'm sorry for being an hour late. I had to go to the other side of town for something real quick. It was an emergency. And as soon as I came back, I had to go to the grocery store real quick and then come back in. So now I'm back, but the issue I had to handle earlier has been taken care of now. So everything's all good. But I apologize for being late. Hopefully you guys are watching the replay of this and you hit that like button, you share this video. I forgot to put the links in the description box below for this video, but if you go to the previous live before this one, links for the Facebook page and the Patreon page are in the description box below. Okay, I'll add the links later on after I'm done with this live, but if you don't see any links in the show notes on this live, you'll see them on the previous live for the Patreon page and the Facebook page. All right. So let's get into today's topic, because the last couple of days, this whole week, I've been talking about dating in Thailand and Taiwan. I've really been pushing for Taiwan, not just dating, but, you know, my days of living abroad in Asia are done. Okay. I'm only going back unless I have like retirement money. All right. You know, if I started my own business and, you know, it's very, very lucrative and profitable, and I could just hire a manager to kind of run things while I'm out the country, then I'll go back to Asia. And the country I would choose is Taiwan, right? Most people would ask, Splash, why don't you choose Japan? Why don't you choose Korea? You know, why don't you choose Hong Kong? Well, here's the thing, like, I'll visit those countries. Like, Japan is a good place to visit, right? But I wouldn't live in Japan. Some of these countries are better countries to visit and not live. Like visiting Thailand every once in a while, it's an okay place to visit, but I would never live there again, right? Taiwan is a great place to live. All right. So you've heard me in the previous live. I said, hey, go there, go to school, get your student visa, work part-time on the side, major in the Chinese language, you'll be set for life. Right? I don't think I have to stress that anymore. But now I want to talk about the difference between Taiwan and Thailand. I've done a live talking about this before, but I'm doing it again because brothers yesterday asked me, you know, the difference between Thailand and Taiwan. And, you know, this video specifically based on the difference in dealing with the women in these countries. All right. So why am I choosing Taiwan over Thailand? Thailand is a good place to live. You know, if you find that lucky somebody that you could start a family with, good place. I mean, if you got the money, right? But if you just on a teacher's salary, then forget it, right? Like yesterday, the live that I did yesterday when I talked about how I did that one, I did a job interview in Jubei on the north side of Shinju, and it was a real nice language center. And the owners of the language center, it was a husband and wife, and the husband was African and the wife was Taiwanese. You see, if I was in that position, if you got the money to be in that position to do that, then, you know, I would say, you know, definitely you can raise a family in Taiwan because you got enough money to put your kids in international school. And, you know, if your language center is booming like that, you have enough money to run your business, put your kids through international school, and, you know, them dealing with less racism is a higher possibility when you're making a certain amount of money. So they're okay. But some people who don't have skills and all they could do is teach English, you know, your kids might experience, a certain level of racism. Is it as bad as Thailand? Me personally, I can't really answer that, but I would say between the two, it'd probably be better to raise mixed black kids in Taiwan than in Thailand. All right. But, I saw, quite a few kids that were mixed in Thailand. Um, but I'll get into that in a minute. Right. I'll get into all this. I'm going to break it down. I'll probably start with Thailand first. But to finish up that last thought, at least like coming up in Taiwan for mixed kids, they are bilingual in Chinese and English. Whereas like in Thailand, them just being bilingual in Thai and English is like, where else are they going to use Thai outside of Thailand? Right. It'll be more lucrative for your children to be bilingual in English and Chinese than English and Thai. Truth or 3D reticle, ain't no love in Thailand, bro. Everything is transactional. We're going to get into that in a second. For those that don't know, my name is Splashwave Beats. I've either been living or traveling abroad for the last 16 years. I lived in Thailand for a total of 5 years, right? I spent 8 years in Asia. Out of those 8 years, I spent 5 in Thailand, 3 in Taiwan, about 6 months to a year in China. All right. So let's see. Every Blasian I seen that grew up in Asia, they seem off, like they're mentally effed up. Yeah, and I did a live stream talking about that, and I showed an example of somebody who was on YouTube that fit that exact description. And I think I went a little bit too hard. It was a tad bit distasteful. Was I right about what I said? Yes, but I didn't have to mention somebody like, hey, go to this person's page and see exactly what it is I'm talking about. I like to give examples, but yeah, to be honest, mixed kids from like if there's a black and an Asian parent, a lot of the kids are let's be for real. A lot of mixed kids in general are off, right? Because especially if they have a black parent. Especially if they have a black parent. Because it's like I was almost non-black until my father had to mess it up for me. You know what I'm saying? Some of them kind of have that mentality. They don't like connecting with blackness. That's for a different show, right? I've talked about that many times. That's for a different show. The best place to raise a Blasian baby is the Philippines, to be honest. I would highly disagree with that. But anyways, so let me get started talking about, and I'm on the road. I'm out the country right now. So that's why I don't have my laptop to show anything on the screen. I don't have my computer on my laptop with me right now, so forgive me. But let's get started. Thai women, right? So I already talked about kind of a little bit about the cost of living and working and living your day-to-day life in Thailand the other day. The positives I would give in Thailand as far as, the lifestyle over there is, things are convenient as far as delivery. So I can literally purchase anything from online. Like I could purchase something from Apple. I can purchase something from H&M. I could purchase, and then weed is legal in Thailand. So if you're a smoker, you could purchase something from, a weed shop online, anywhere online. And then you could send a Grab taxi or an Uber, either Food Panda, Grab taxi, Uber. You can send a motorbike driver to go over there and pick it up for you and bring it to you without anybody without them having a delivery service. So that's convenient, right? As far as convenience, how the neighborhoods are set up, is it set up like it is in Taiwan? No, right? Taiwan is cleaner. The infrastructure is more well kept and put together. Um, Thailand is more poverty stricken. I talked about this yesterday, but let's talk about the difference between the women and how your life can pan out living in both countries. So let's start with Thailand. Let's start with the positives. With Thai women, they do got hustle. All right, they do have hustle. Um, some of these women, they might not have the money up front to start their business, but if you have the money and you give them an idea and you put up the money for a business for them to start and they feel comfortable with it, they'll dedicate themselves to that business, right? It's like um it's easier to like empower your woman in Thailand than in Taiwan. It's probably going to cost a little bit more. There's going to be licensing that they need and building inspections and all kind of crap that you would need in a Western world in Taiwan, which they do things the right way in Taiwan. But Thailand, you know, a woman starting a business, it really takes next to nothing. It's just like just do it and promote it on Facebook. That's how it is, right? And the startup for some of these businesses, it don't really cost that much, especially if it's like a restaurant, some sort of food truck, um, a coffee truck, uh, snacks or whatever. And there's a delivery service, and they promote it on Facebook or any type of them selling clothing or a barber shop or a hair salon. It doesn't cost that much to start up your own business like that in Thailand if you have the money. If you got Western money, you bring it to Thailand and then you start a business, you can easily empower your woman. And they have hustle, they have drive when it comes to getting into entrepreneurship for themselves because the opportunities is there in Thailand. They allow the people to, that's why like the unemployment rate in Thailand is very, very low, right? Because they allow their own people to start up their own business. Whether they're seeing the money that they want to see from that business or not, it's like they have their own business, right? So what's that huge marketplace on the north side of Bangkok? Is it on the north side or is it on the is it Chatuchak? Uh Chengwatana, Chetu. I can't think of the name of that market now, but that huge market, everybody there is pretty much working for themselves, right? So, I mean, a business could be somebody owns a clinic, somebody franchised into a restaurant, somebody owns their own fancy restaurant, or they franchise into their own dealership or whatever, selling motorcycles, motorbikes, or cars. Or it could be as, it could be on the same level as them selling fake watches at the market, selling children's toys at the market, right? Selling, rugs at the market, selling clothes at the market, selling socks at the market, you know, stuff like that. So there's different levels that you see in Thailand, but I would say a lot of women in Thailand, they got drive, they got hustle to try to get the bag, right? I would say women in Thailand compared to Taiwan, they have more sex appeal, right? Women are cuter. Um, some women, they try to be sexy. There's some women that there's a lot of women in Thailand that just kind of throw shit on and go outside with like baggy clothes and dirty shoes and stuff like that. But there are some women that do have sex appeal. I would say women in Thailand have more sex appeal than women in Taiwan. Okay. Now, uh, if you're a black man, and this is knowing that it's there's racism overseas in Asia, right? Well, this we already know about the racism overseas in Asia. I don't really have to break that down. I've talked about it so many times. But if you're a black man in Thailand, more than likely, can you find a girlfriend that's in her 20s? Yes. But I would say the prettier your girl is and somewhat sort of loyal she is based off of if she was like raised by her father or not. You know, if she grew up in a single mother household and she cute and she like in her early to mid 20s, you probably have a better chance of getting into a relationship with a woman like that than a woman who came from a two-parent household. The father is, feels some sort of way of her dating, some black dude, and then he wants to threaten to cut her off. Like the mother don't really care, especially if she's like 25, 26 years old. The mother don't really care. It's just like, hey, look, you got siblings. They already married to somebody else that's Thai. I just want the best for you. I just want you to be happy, right? And she could be cute, voluptuous, right? Curvy, the way you like it. I showed y'all an example of who I was with on and off for years in Thailand. Um, she she was raised by a mother, right? But they are, they get very emotional also. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's a smooth sail. They get very emotional. They're probably even more emotional. So, um, they tend to be, they could be fine, body, and then they'll make it into their 30s and 40s with no kids, right? Uh, I guess another positive would be, so let's say you see a cute Thai woman, she's young, very young, and she had a kid really, really young. I'm gonna be honest, those women, and it's not my type or whatever, but those women, especially um they could I've seen women with two parents, one parent or whatever. They kind of messed up at a young age. They got pregnant by some dude they weren't married to. There's a lot of single mothers in Thailand. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But if you see somebody really young with a kid, but they come from a decent household, they live in a decent area. It's just the daughter was kind of wild or whatever, and it's more tame now. That she's a mother, 22, 23 years old or whatever, and that don't bother you, and you want to get in a relationship with somebody like that. I found women like that to be, extremely appreciative, nice, thankful, loyal. They try to go above and beyond to show like, I could be an asset to you. Um, I've seen that, but I don't advise nobody to date a single mother ever. But if that don't bother you, then you know, building with somebody like that is possible, especially if they only got one kid, right? I've seen some guys, especially Africans, they marry women over in Thailand. They got like two or three kids by two or three different baby daddies, and it's kind of like, damn, like why would you? Like I knew guys that they were jewelers, making really really good money, and it's like, why? I mean, why would you wife that up? But it's almost like it was out of desperation just to get that visa in Thailand so they can continue doing business. Um, but single mothers, I don't advise it, but I would say, a very young woman who lives in a decent neighborhood, in Bangkok, like Bang Na, like the Bang Na area or the Rongsit area, different spots in Nonton Buri that's, a little high end, right? Um, or like Samu Sekon in some of those houses. And I know all of Samu Sekon, pretty much like I can name any neighborhood in Thailand. It's like they'll have raggedy homes and they'll have like really nice homes. But areas like Rongzed and stuff like that, they came from a home, like a nice modern looking home, and the daughter used to be kind of wild when they was young. No tattoos, but they might have had a kid at like 18, 19, and then now they're going to school, they got a job, still living at home with their parents. The father ain't nowhere to be found, but it's like they're working. They don't party anymore. They don't do this and the third anymore. All they can do is deal with foreigners. But it's like I found them to kind of like go above and beyond. Like it was like, okay, I know my situation, so I have to really, really prove to this person that I'm a changed woman, and I'm loyal, and I want to be a wife to this man, and this, like they'll do a lot to prove themselves, but not really my type. Um, check through check market, yes, Ozzy, thank you. An African dude in my class in college, bro, was explaining to the experience about how to keep your papers. Buddy said you got to get married, put that pipe on him heavy, and make her feel love. So, okay. Anyway, so that's all I got for the positives on Thai women. Now let's talk about the negatives, right? A lot of Thai women, man, they have erratic behavior. A lot of them are kind of difficult to deal with. You never really know what's on their mind. They have volatile thought patterns. You could be, you know, you could meet somebody Thai and you're trying to have a decent conversation with them, and it's like all of a sudden they just get pissed off. Why are you asking me all these questions? I'm like, isn't this a date? Aren't we trying to get to know each other? Yeah, but you asking me questions like you a police or something. It's like, what? Like, wait, what? Right? Like the way they think is just off, right? Not saying all. I'm not saying all, but for the ones who talk or have talked or dealt with foreigners, it's like y'all know what I'm talking about. It's like they're off, and I'm not talking about women in Pattaya. They don't count, right? I'm talking about women at international schools, um, the universities that are considered prestigious in Thailand, right? I'm talking about um, women from uh, an educated background, from like that's middle class or upper middle class in Thailand, right? Upper middle class to high class, they're a lot of them are kind of snobby, right? Especially if they were an exchange student in the UK, right? They're the worst. They are the worst. Like a Thai woman, who no, the worst is like a biracial Thai woman with a white father, and the white father has a little bit of money, and then she did an exchange learning. She was an exchange student for a little while in the UK, and then comes back to Thailand. They're the worst. All right, they are the worst. Very snobby and stuck up. Right. Um, my girl used to work in like a high end hotel in Thailand. She used to tell me like the worst customers that she had were the rich Thais. She was like, they talk down to all the Thai people. So um Now, the education system in Thailand, I will admit, is not that great. Nobody fails in Thailand. They just pass everybody. People give less than a half-ass effort. There are kids that don't even show up to school, and they'll show up like at the end of the semester, and the school would just be like, "Hey, write a paper, write like a 2 or 3 page paper or whatever, and then turn it in, and we'll pass you." Right? People they just pass everybody along. They don't really earn their grade in Thailand like that. They don't force anybody to earn a grade. You know, in America out west, it's like, you know, whatever the amount of effort you put in is what you're gonna get. So if you give less than a half-ass effort, you're gonna fail. Right now, nowadays they're starting to pass kids along more in America, but back when we was growing up, if you failed, you failed, right? They don't give a damn if you was in the third grade or kindergarten or seventh grade or high school. If you fail, you're not moving to the next grade. And you have to do the whole thing all over again. Even if you fail one class in elementary school, middle school. I didn't fail any classes in elementary school, middle school. I failed one class. I failed 2 classes in high school. I was just, and really, I didn't have to fail. It's just I was fucking around so much, right? That one class I took summer school and I passed and I moved on. The other one was like chemistry. I just didn't give a shit about chemistry. I wouldn't even show up to class, and I was back in there the next year or whatever. But I still moved on to. I still moved on to. I still graduated on time. It was just one class, so it's not a big deal in high school. But y'all get what I'm saying. In Thailand, they just pass everybody, right? They pass everybody, and it's more of an anti-American, anti-black culture, sometimes anti-foreigner. So nowadays, I'll say, it's more anti-foreigner altogether, just because like what's happening to even a lot of white foreigners in Thailand. But at one point in time, it was really like anti-American, anti-black kind of, and because it's more British influence in Thailand, everybody's driving in the right hand side of the car, on the right hand, well, the left hand side of the road, right hand side of the car. You see a lot more British flags over there. A lot of English programs are all, like they're taught in British English, and they're ran by people that are from the UK and stuff like that. So, you being over there, um, a lot of times they just like, even if you're in a position of authority, they won't listen to you unless you're you're one of them. Like if you're somebody from their culture, then they straighten up, right? It don't matter. It could be a woman 4'10". The whole class is taller than her, but she'll go in there and check that whole class. You know what I'm saying? But as soon as she leaves, they're back to acting up again with you. So it's it's like, I don't want to get into teaching. I'm talking about dating over there. So there's a lot of people who are just, I would say, miseducated. They're miseducated in very important positions. So you never had to try at all throughout school. So school not holding you accountable for the effort you put into your grade, that less than half-ass effort that you give with everything is what everybody does when they're adults. So that's why, all these incidents where like there's criminal negligence is because it's like, well, they were taught to just give less than a half-ass effort throughout everything. And then when finally somebody, they feel like they get an important position, it's like you have a miseducated person trying to exude like some like their authority sometimes, and it's like it comes across as weird. And you know, like when you go to the immigration office and the because everybody has to deal with that, or through TSA, whatever in Thailand. It's like it's a joke. All right, it's a joke. Like it's it's so I don't want to stay on that topic too long, but for those who have actually lived in Thailand, you know what I'm talking about, right? And then when there are people when you have students that even at a young age they don't like Thailand, they want to get out of Thailand. Um, they're very serious about the English language. Everything they listen to growing up is in English on YouTube and everything. They damn near perfect the English language by the time they're like 15, 16. And then you ask them, it's like, okay, why do you want to learn English? She was like, some of the kids are like the ones whose English is really good. They'll say it's just like, I don't want to be here. I want to get up out of here. Like I don't want to be here. It's just ass backwards. And it's kind of like, how do you know something's ass backwards if you don't know anything else? Maybe they were exposed to different cultures from abroad, right? They did a lot of research. So I don't know. But um the ones who want to get out of Thailand, they educate themselves, right? And mainly in English, Western culture, the English language, and they don't like anything about their own culture, right? So, uh, I already mentioned before, speaking Thai, being bilingual, it can help in Thailand, but being bilingual, English and Chinese, Mandarin, that's a totally different level. Um, they don't like doing favors, so they might ask you for a favor. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Right? Um, More so when I was in school, Chinese students would always ask me to do favors for them. I would always say no, right? Because it's very disingenuous. You ignore me all year, then all of a sudden, hey, brother, not you're calling me brother. My antennas really go up, and then they want something for free, and I say no, I can't do it. And Indonesians would ask me for free favors before, and I'm like, no. And it's not because I'm not willing to do favors. It's because either they want me to do all the work for them, or it's like they're not appreciative of the things you do, and they just go back to ignoring you after you do something free for them. And then when you say hello to them, the next time you see them, they'll literally act like they've never met you in life. Like, who? Hey, what's going on? What's your name again? Like, what the hell? What? Like, I've literally met people in Asia who've done that, especially in Thailand. And then a lot of them will act like they don't even know English. Um, I'm like, people who've lived in Asia long enough, they know what I'm talking about. Somebody will hang out with you every single day and talk to you all the time in English, acting like they really want to get to know you, and then they'll ask for a favor. You do the favor for them, and then they'll act like they never knew you when you see them again. Like I've seen that before, but they don't like doing favors for you, especially if you're on a job and it's a mix between like American, especially at a language center. You have Thai staff, but the main money makers who's making most of the money for the business are the Western English speakers, right? And then you just move there, and it's like, damn, I'm trying to get internet, but the whole thing is in Thai, and nobody speaks English. So can you do me a favor and just set up an appointment so that they can come to my condo or whatever on a certain time and day? Like asking that seemed like it's It's not a big deal. It should be understandable, but Thai, especially Thai women, like sometimes they'll do it, but like they become enraged. It's like, why the fuck is he asking me to do this? Why can't he do this himself? And it's like, just hearing that, it's almost like, on TikTok, they make fun of Ashton Hall. Oh, bro was in the air for 4 minutes. Bro threw the remote control. Bro threw the controller, during the cutscene in Grand Theft Auto and broke the TV and stuff like that. And then that saxophone goes off. That's the music that goes off in my mind when I hear a Thai woman saying that at the job. Oh, why the fuck is he asking me, to do that? Why can't he do it himself? Motherfucker, this is the English Language Center. He's the cash cow here, and he's the reason why you have a job here. And he doesn't have the skill to be able to speak Thai to anybody. He doesn't know the Thai language. Yeah, he needs all it takes is a phone call, but even something as little as like setting up an appointment for you over the phone, and like they're just the assistant there at the language center at the school. It's like it pisses them off that they have to do a favor for you. I remember I moved into what's it called? Not Lumpini, but Supalai City Resort, Cheng Watana. In the Cheng Watana area, that's a condo, right? So in a very busy, centralized location like that, I was only paying like 9,000 baht a month for that apartment, and that was that's a very, very good deal for that area. It's a very nice condo, right? So I was only paying like $260 a month for that apartment. They didn't want to rent it to me. Like, the mother who owned that condo was kind of being a hard ass. And then she didn't know English, but the son did. So the 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 the, the housing authority, they were in communications with the mother, but really getting the son to speak to me and be like a middleman for the both of us. The mother was kind of being a hard ass in the beginning, didn't want to rent it to me. He's like, oh, he's not tired. And we don't know if he's going to stay. And this is that. It was all a bunch of bullshit, right? So it's like, so he finally convinced her to rent it to me. I got the keys and everything. And there wasn't a microwave. The contract said a microwave. I'm like, there's not a microwave. There's not this. And I need internet. So can you get the internet people to, get it for me, or like to set up an appointment for me or whatever? And I'm like, there's no microwave here. So when are you going to get the microwave? Oh, okay. I'll get the microwave. He didn't express that right away. He didn't express any sort of anger right away because I'm supposed to have a microwave in here. But that really chapped his ass that I pointed that out in the contract and there was no microwave in there. So, and he feels like, okay, now I'm doing something for him when I don't have to. Motherfucker, there's supposed to be a microwave here, right? Then there was something else that wasn't there, but it was supposed to be in there according to the contract. I think it was like the remote control for the TV. There was supposed to be a TV there or something like that. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll do that. But deep down inside, it's like fucking with him that he's doing a favor for me. Then I'm like, I need internet, like, and the whole thing is in Thai, not in English. Can you just tell them that I'm available on this day at this time? Can you do that for me? And that's all I needed from them. I could do, because certain buildings, you can't just put any internet service in whatever building you want. It has to be the internet service company that provides it for that building. And this dude sent me like a long ass email and went off. He was just like, oh, like this is like I think I still have the email, but I have to dig for it. This dude was infuriated because he felt like he was doing all this shit for me. It's like I gotta find that email one day, but he was going off. He was just like, why am I doing anything for you? I'm not supposed to be doing this for you, and this is that and the third, and you know, this is like really stressing me out, and this is that and the third, and I'm like, huh? And then he blocked me after that, so I couldn't speak to him anymore. I had to speak to like the homeowners, from then on, from that part, and then they would speak to him. So I always kept that in the back of my mind, and I didn't stay there for the full time. I think I stayed there for 4 or 5 months, and I left. Right? Fuck them. I didn't damage anything, but fuck them. But that's how they think. It's like if they do anything for you, right? No matter how minute it is, like it fucks with them. It's like, how the fuck is this black dude? How the fuck am I doing anything for this black? Like they think like that over there, right? So, don't like doing fake favors. There's a lot of fake energy behind the smiles over there. They call it land of smile. There's a lot of fake energy behind the smiles. The people who travel over there that are tourists, you see, they go to the touristy areas, and the areas they go to, they don't know what I'm talking about when I say that, right? Because they go to the Peninsula Hotel, they go to M Quartier. Well, yeah, there too, right? They'll go to Nana, they'll go to Scion Paragon, they'll go to what's the other one called? Asiatique, right? They'll go to that some very popular high-end spa or whatever that a lot of tourists go to. They're not going to Future Park Mall in Rangsit. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to Mega Bangna Mall in Bangna. They're not going to Central Bangna Mall in Bangna. All right? They're not going to that 7-Eleven off Bering BTS station. Right? They're not going to Ingram Mall west of Bering BTS. They're not going to Samut Sekon, and going to the local Big C grocery store in Samut Sekon. No, they're going to Icon Siam. They're going to M Quartier. They're going to Central World. They're going to Terminal 21, and they're going to Nana. Right? They're not going to Hoi Kwong at that brunch spot in Hoi Kwong. They're not going to the street mall in Hoi Kwong. They're not going to Central Westgate in Nonton Budi, right? Even though that's like the tourists don't really go over there. It's a fly mall, but tourists don't really go over there. You see what I'm saying? They're not going to these places and seeing what it is that I'm seeing. You see what I'm saying? So when I say there's a lot of fake smiles there's a lot of fakeness behind those smiles. They have no clue as to what I'm talking about, and they'll argue with me about it. Right? They've never been a student at a university. And having to deal with certain professors, certain students, they don't know what I'm talking about. Right? So you go to some of these stores, these little stores in these neighborhoods or whatever, and it's like there's still some nice people there, but there's a lot of people that, like, if you have a question, they just don't even want to fucking help you. Right? It's just like, what the fuck do you want? Man, whatever. I don't know. Go ask somebody else. Right? They speak English, but there's a lot of fakeness behind a lot of these smiles. Even when I was in university, these there were students, they didn't want to get in groups with foreigners. They didn't want to sit next to foreigners, right? They didn't even want to say hello to foreigners. It's just like, you over there, we over here. That's how it was. And you'll see that all throughout Asia while you're living there. A lot of poor customer service in a lot of places outside of the touristy areas. Um, some women, especially guys, going to like these clubs to meet women. There's a lot of drug addicts, prostitution. You got a lot of women. They got one foot in the corporate world, or one foot in the square world, and one foot in the street, selling ass. Um, there's a lot of, like, especially, some of these different experiences that I have, and there's a lot of like dirt baggish women. I'm not saying all, but the ones who are around foreigners, there's a lot of dirt baggish women who come around men, foreign men and brothers out there in Thailand. There's a lot of dirt. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. There's a lot of dirt baggish women over there that are rude, disrespectful, trying to finesse you, especially with a lot of these, like a lot of Caucasian males who get into marriages over there. A lot of women, they play the long-term game with them. They'll have the kid and marry them. They'll be in a marriage for like 5 years, and then one day they'll, when he goes out of town and visits his family, you know, she'll empty the safe, take the motorcycle, take the car, right? Drain the bank account, and then leave and go in the middle of their village, out in the middle of nowhere. I've seen that many, many times, right? And cops don't do anything. Might rob you. A lot of these women, man, it's like they deal with the grimiest of the grimiest foreigners that go over there in Thailand a lot. So it's like their attitude kind of is like, well, it's your choice to deal with these guys or whatever with tattoos on their neck and their face and their hands and shit like that. Like, so now they come at you with some preconceived notion based off of a lot of dirtbag foreigners that they used to deal with. And it's kind of like, why would you talk to somebody like that anyways? They don't really know kind of the difference between like there's some guys, in Thailand, you could see that back home, no matter what race they are, they wouldn't get any play. They're weird. Nobody really respects them or whatever. But, some of these women, they'll give them the utmost respect just because of the color of their skin. Right. And it's like, now your dealings with this woman is based off of some crazy ass foreigner that were dealing before you. Like, why? It's like a lot of them just don't really have the wherewithal to be able to see that, okay, this person ain't shit. Right. Some of them, I remember I was in class one time in Thailand at school, and there was this white dude. He was openly answering questions or whatever. And then went a group, and this is that and the third. And there were Thais in that group too. And so the Thais were kind of like, the eyes kind of got like, they were raising an eyebrow, like because there was this white dude in the group. It's not because he was white or anything like that, but he was saying a lot of just incorrect shit, right? And I corrected him on it. And at one point in time, I had a debate, and I easily debunked him because it was like a group discussion based off facts. And like the Thais in the group, they were a little bit shocked that I was challenging somebody white's like intelligence, or you know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's, in America's like, right is right, wrong is wrong, right? This person was completely wrong. And when he got stubbed or whatever, when he got stuck off his bullshit rhetoric, not based on facts. He had nothing to say. And they were kind of shocked behind that because people like him, they just kind of let him talk. People like that, excuse me, they just kind of let them talk in Thailand and believe everything they say, right? Or just allow them to do whatever it is that they want to do, and even if it's rude, disrespectful, whatever, it's kind of like, because of the color of their pigmentation, they just kind of let them do what they do. If they're spazzing out, they'll just like let them do what they do, and they'll try to accommodate them and calm them down or whatever, or get them whatever it is that they want. If they're wrong about something, they'll still believe it anyways because it came from his mouth. And that's just not how it is back home. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of race. So, um, you know, so uh that's both sad to see worldwide, but I think there's levels to it. They even worship line is Africa. Yeah, I know that. One of the most and least wine worshiping place in Asia. um But I say Japan, especially if you're a Black American descent. All right, so let's get into Taiwanese. Well, yeah, Taiwanese women, and I don't want to stay on here too long. I need to get off of here in about 20, 30 minutes. I want to wrap this up. I've been on here way too long. Taiwanese women, I would say they're more civilized. They're more educated. I'm not going to say that they're just intelligence because I don't really care too much for any race of women's intelligence globally, right? I don't. The way I think, you don't want to know what I think about all races of women's intelligence. I don't really think much of it, and I've been all over the place, right? But I'll say that they're more educated. Educated and intelligence are two different things, in my opinion, right? They're just more educated. They kind of sort of somewhat pass students along in Taiwan, but it's like um, you can tell, like, they're just not taking school for granted over there. The majority, I should say, over in Taiwan. They take care of their environment for the most part. It's still kind of dingy. A lot of the buildings look kind of shitty. Even in the Xinyi district, the downtown area of Taipei. But I would say, like, they keep the roads clean, but the buildings just look kind of old and grime. Well, like there's grime growing on the buildings and stuff like that. But I looked at that as more of art. It looks more artsy. That look, that feel. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. Although it doesn't look super clean like Dom Shui, it's still, you know, it depends on who you're asking. And I would say, yeah, it could look more modern. They could clean it up. They could take a pressure washer and really clean this city up, right, to get all the grime off of the buildings. But I would say it gives it character, right? So, they're sometimes helpful. I met women that, I'm speaking to somebody, they speak Chinese, they don't really speak English well, and women would come through and help, right? Or they would ask questions about what I need, or, the guys would do that too. And I'm talking about the women, right? I would say women are more helpful, right? They don't really complain if they do you like a favor, right? It doesn't fuck with them mentally, psychologically if they're doing a favor for you, right? Or at least they don't really show it as much as women in Thailand. They handle children better because in Thailand, Thai women, like especially if they're single mothers, there's a lot of single mothers in Thailand. If the man that they had, the Thai man that they had a baby by walks out of their life, right, for whatever reason, maybe it was them turning up. They didn't require marriage to have that kid, which is mainly the case. They just fucking. And the woman, her mind ain't right, and the guy leaves. The woman, as soon as she finds, like, she can only get with a foreigner after that. And when she gets with a foreigner, they'll abandon their kids a lot in many cases to go be with that foreigner. I've seen that. They just don't give a shit about their kids anymore. I've seen that many, 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 many times in Thailand. They will abandon their kids if they're a single mother for another man. Whereas, like, in Taiwan, I don't think I ever ran into a single mother over there. I'm not saying they don't exist, but it's more family orientated in Taiwan. Um, I never, I don't think I ever ran into a single mother in Taiwan. So they're more family orientated. They handle children better. Not as masculine. You know, sometimes you'll get aggressive women in Thailand, especially women who can't take a joke. Like, you want to deal with foreigners, and then when we just have playful jouster amongst each other, they just, for whatever reason, they don't understand it. So their their first reaction is just to get angry and mad. And I never really ran into that in Taiwan, right? You know, a lot of them, they could take a joke. If they don't understand, they'll ask. And, you know, it was, I can only say that I only ran into about two women that were somewhat sort of rude, right? Two, about, not three, I'll say three women, but that was at the workplace that I was at, right? That was these working environments that I was at. On the street, no. On the street, I can't think of a woman that really, really pissed me off like that in Taiwan. Thailand, yes, but Taiwan, no. I just can't think of one, right? Everybody was fairly, friendly. Yeah, that racial element is still there, right? But out and about on the street, I didn't run into, you know, rude people like that. You know, they follow the traffic laws. Everybody wears a helmet when they're riding a motorbike. The people in cars are careful. You know, when they drive next to people on motorbikes, they give people the right of way. Um, you say hello to somebody, they'll say hello back, they'll wave, right? So it's like, you know, it's like, it's totally different. The environment is totally different, right? Women have less of a sketchy background in Taiwan. So I'm not saying everybody's perfect in Taiwan, but Thai women in Thailand, it's like, man, single mother on drugs, or has tried every drug, right? Tattoos, dealt with real sketchy foreigners that have been over there on drugs and stuff like that, especially when y'all go to Pattaya and Phuket and places like that. These women they're out there in the street, right? Because y'all don't go to these universities. Right. When I name these universities, y'all don't even know the names of these universities to go to meet these women. So y'all go to Pattaya, y'all go to Phuket, mainly Pattaya. You go to the same two places in Pattaya, and you deal with some of the grimiest women of the country. They got sketchy background. They fucking everybody in the club. They're on all kind of pills. They try to stab somebody to death, like you saw in that video that I did in the live stream a few weeks back. You're trying to unalive somebody. Very sketchy, right? Sketchy background. A lot of these women in Thailand, a lot of them. It's like, you never know what's on their mind, what they're going to say next, what they're going to do next. It's just like, you just never know when you're around a Thai woman, right? In Thailand, Taiwanese women, it's like they have less of a sketchy background, right? You know, they're dealing with foreigners because they probably thought, hey, I don't want to. They decided that they wanted a foreign man at a young age, so they went to Australia to work on a strawberry farm, right? To be some slave picking strawberries and cotton, and things didn't really pan out, so they come back, right? Or you just kind of deal with a woman who They had boyfriends when they were younger that were Taiwanese, or they're a little bit eccentric. Like I dated a chick who she worked at like a exotic reptilian store, and she had all these animals. Like she had a tarantula, an iguana, snakes, right, as pets. And I never went over to her place. She would come over to my place. But she was cool as hell in person. She wasn't like weird. Like I would have never known that about her until she told me. But cool as hell. Freak, freaky. The vibe was flowing when I was with her, right? Or like, especially a lot of women in Taiwan who, you know, that look really good and they might be 30 and they had an ex who was black, but the black ex might be like Caribbean or something like that. It was a bum that she was taking care of. Same thing you hear about in America, stuff like that, right? But it's even more sketchy in Thailand. They're dating these guys they get in bar fights all the time, or into drugs and just just all kind of weirdo shit. Where it's like it's the backgrounds of the dudes that they've dealt with in the past in Taiwan. It's like it's the most I've heard was just them dealing with a bum. That's kind of what I heard. Right, the worst. Not to say that they're not dibbling and dabbling and exotic narcotics over there or whatever. I'm not saying that, but it's just less of a crazy, sketchy background that they have in Taiwan. Now, the negatives of Taiwanese women is, I've mentioned this before. A lot of them, like if they're dealing with foreigners and they're still living at home with their parents, they're lazy. They don't want, the kind of a feministic mindset some of them have. Lazy, they have no drive. You can have all the money to help them start up a business or whatever, they still won't do it, right? Because it's kind of like they have that feministic mindset sometimes. It's like, well, if all the money came from you, then you'll probably think you own everything, and then you own me, and then it's like it ain't nothing for me. So no, I'd rather just go get it myself. And it's like, huh? Right? Don't really understand the art of teamwork, right? And it's like no matter what you do, some man is going to have to take credit for your success, and that is a direct message to all women. No matter what you do, you will have to take direct. You will have to your success, no matter what you do in life, if you are able to obtain any sort of level of success, no matter if it's at a small scale or large scale, 10 times out of 10 is because you would have to give most of the credit of your success to a man, whether you know him or not. The inventions, or even if even if you're a top escort and you selling coochie, your wealth has came from men, right? The richest woman in the world, her wealth came from a divorce from a man. We're talking uh people like Jeff Bezos, right? A lot of billionaires have gotten divorced. Yeah, their wives become the richest woman in the world because of divorces, right? So, or you know, even if you're doing even if you're in sales for yourself or whatever business, right? Even if you are a hairdresser and you got the money to start up your own hair salon or whatever, just the fact, like the building alone and all the equipment that's there that you need inside of your hair salon in order to run thrively, it was all because a group of men built it for you, right? So their response to, because I've been in relationships where I'm like, well, you ain't got to work or whatever, just stay at home and take care, hold it down at home. They did not want to do that in Taiwan. They did not want to do that. They were just like, hell no. Like I'd rather work and get it on my own and not like. So this whole thing about to take care of your woman and, uh, you know, take care of your woman and being a provider. That's bullshit. It's always been bullshit. You've never heard me talk about run up the bag in order to take care of your woman. You've never heard me say that shit, because these modern feminist women out here today, it's like they think, well, if he's taking care of everything, then he feels like he owns me, then it always leads to some negative thought process, when it comes to dealing with a man who's trying to care for them. So fuck them, right? You're going to run into a lot of feminist, women with that somewhat sort of feminist mindset in Taiwan. And this next thing, you've heard me say this before, a Taiwanese wife of a Taiwanese man told me this. She said, like, most Taiwanese women, they don't know how to contribute to their family until they're in their 30s, right? So they'll get married young, have a kid like 23, 24, and they don't know how to contribute to their family until they're 30. So the whole time in their 20s, they just got their head up their ass waiting for the man to do everything for them, right? And this came out of the horse's mouth over there. It's another negative, like not as much sex appeal as Thai women, right? There's cute women in Taiwan, but not nowhere near the level of Taiwanese or Thai women in Thailand. Right? There's a way more sex appeal from women in Thailand, but they're crazy as hell. All right. Whereas like Taiwanese women, just kind of, you don't really see as much sex appeal like that, but they're more sort of level headed and easier to talk to in Taiwan. Only good to deal with women between 18 and 22 or 34 and older, right? So between the age range of 23 and 33 in Taiwan, if they're kind of just out there, they don't have a Taiwanese boyfriend or they're not married, about 23 with kids, the Taiwanese women between the age of 23 and 33 that are just kind of out there or really the worst to deal with. Like it's that feminist mindset. Oh, I'll do it on my own. I don't need a man for nothing. But they still living at home with their mom and dad while the dad is taking care of everything. They're living off their parents' retirement, talking like they're a boss bitch. I met dozens of women who would talk like that, right? So they start to the light bulb kind of starts to come on at around about 31, 32, but they're not all the way there yet. It's not until like 34 that they're like, okay, let me stop this shit, right? But the women who are kind of just dealing with foreigners between 23 and 33, and it's not a strong feminist mindset, but it's you'll see what I'm talking about if you go to Taiwan. You meet a woman between 23 and 33, and you ask her questions, you talk with her, you ask her about her past. It's just kind of, they just kind of living off their parents, not really working, not trying to build with no man. They're just lazy, right? A lot of them, not all, but a lot of the ones who deal with foreigners, they're very lazy, right? They have a lackadaisical attitude and and they're just living off of their parents' retirement. And I'm not going to say a lot, but I ran into some cheating wives in Taiwan. So, yeah. So, anyways, take that. This is just my opinion from what I've observed. Hey, man, I could be right, I could be wrong. Somebody else can have a difference of opinion. It's all my opinion at the end of the day. And it's your opinion, So don't get bent out of shape if your opinion doesn't align with mine. You can listen to whoever the fuck you want to listen to, right? But I got the experience. I lived in both for 3+ years in both countries. I spent 3 years in Taiwan and 5 years in Thailand. All right. Thailand pretty much is just So to sum up everything, to me, Taiwan for the skill, the experience, right? The Chinese mastering the Mandarin language. That's get that skill under your belt. And then, when you got enough money saved throughout the year, travel to Thailand, right? Travel to Thailand, and then, don't go to the clubs and be like, hey, I want to get a woman. I want to pull a woman just off game. Fuck game. Just find the ones who are for sale, right? You can find a woman who's whatever her body type that you like. You can find that for sale. It's at a very low price. Don't have to worry about getting drugged like that. Pay the money, tip her, right? And go on about your business, right? Another thing about, well, I would have to say this about most Asian women, but a lot of Thai women, they you know, just volatile thought process, always getting angry throughout a conversation. Everything offends them. And they just love blocking people for no reason. Like they'll block you for no reason, right? Right. It could be somebody you haven't spoke to in a while, then you find out you're blocked. Or you'll say, what's up or whatever, how's it going? I haven't talked to you in a while. And they'll leave you on red. Like you can't hide the messages from not being read online messenger. Like as soon as they see it and they click on it, it'll show red. And you know, and a lot of them will just leave you on red. A lot of Thai women will do that. It's like, damn, I thought we was cool. And they ghost people. They're them and Filipino women big on ghosting. They'll really ghost you for real. Right. So just go over there. Just go to Thailand for fun. That's what it's there for. It's for fun. Have your fun and come back. It's not for, living your day-to-day life over there. I mean, you can, but you know what I'm saying? And for some people, it is a great place to live. If they feel like it's best for them living their day-to-day lives in Thailand, some people it is good for them. Like some people feel like, hey, it'll be great for me to move to Las Vegas. Some people like, okay, I'll visit Las Vegas, but I ain't moving to Las Vegas. You know what I'm saying? So treat it like Las Vegas. Just visit there, have your time, go back to Taiwan. Then a couple months later, go back to Thailand, then come back. Just go back and forth, right? It's right there. It's not that far. 3-hour flight. It's not that far, right? From Taipei to Thailand and Bangkok, it's like 3.5 hours. You could do it, right? So that's all I got. What country is better for black men to find a wife? I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I don't even think wives should be at the front of your mind when you go to some places. Just go to a country that you vibe with the most. That's what you should ask. Stop asking about wives. All right. If you find a wife, you found a good thing. But if wife is on the front of your mind, you have that air of desperation about you. And we're living in modern times, and women all over the world are turned off by some guy coming at them talking about wife. You know what I'm saying? Just find you a cool chick you vibe with, and if she's good enough, then you wife her. Um, that Thai chick who tried to stab the brother, she was Blake. It don't matter. It don't Blasian, half black, half Thai women are the worst. They dude, I messed around with a half Thai, half. I've met a couple of half Thai, half black women, and I've they're the worst, right? They are the worst. So it don't matter. It's just what they're doing is they're doing what a lot of Thai women do times 5, right? It's just an extreme version of a Thai woman. That's it. Um, why do you always ask who likes black dudes? Like that's a 3D, man. Like that's kind of a, I'm trying to tell you about just how things are for brother. Like it's but when people say, "Hey, what do they like black men at?" It's like, to me, that's kind of a corny question. But I'm just giving insight on Asia, but to be honest, like I wouldn't advise anybody to go to Asia, right? Like you mentioned earlier, I'm my destination for me is Panama. Why? Because Panama is like it's a cultural mixture. It's black people and like light skinned Latinos there, right? So me walking around isn't like, oh, look at this black dude here. When you step up, when you go someplace in Panama, you're not like it's not like this. Whereas like in Asia, I've had moments, especially in Thailand, where I'll try to get on an elevator or get off an elevator. And when I'm trying to get on an elevator, people are screaming or people are running off the elevator. Like, no, I'm not getting on with him. That type of racist shit in Asia. Like you don't get that in a lot of parts in Latin America, right? So, and it's closer. The flights are cheaper. The women are finer. They got better bodies. So, like, I'm giving advice because it's my experience, but I'm not wasting my time in Asia like that. I'll go to visit, but the next time I go to Asia, like I'm taking a chick with me. Like a chick is coming with me. I don't like dealing with them over there like that. What's the point? The anti-blackness in their culture and their mindset is I mean, most women's mindset is fucked, right? A lot of their mind is all fucked. But at least, if I'm walking around with, a bad chick in Panama, it's not unusual that a black man is walking around with a bad chick in Panama because black people are a part of the culture, right? They're like a bunch of black people in Panama, Colombia, Brazil, right? With decent looking women on their arms. So it's like, it's not unusual. Whereas like you go to Asia and if you so happen to get a bad chick, people are harassing her on the street while y'all walking together. So yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, they checking for brothers. All right, man. I'm getting off of here. You guys be good. Like, subscribe, share this video. I'm over the mouth. Peace.